today in the middle of a series called This or That. What is this about? Well, it's about one thing that all of us struggle with in some way or another. It's called comparison. It's when we hold this in our lives next to that in someone else's life. And suddenly, we just don't feel like we measure up. That's comparison. And it's a bigger part of our lives than most of us realize. Comparing our this to their that can leave us feeling all kinds of ways. Disappointed, hopeless, frustrated, anxious, motivated, and sometimes even like we are better than others. But today, we're gonna talk about one of the most powerful feelings comparison brings out of us. And that is the feeling of jealousy. I remember in 8th grade, I switched to a new school, and it was right around the winter dance. So I asked this girl, Macy, to go with me. We had several classes together, and I thought she was super cute. So I walked up to her and asked her in front of all her friends. Well, I guess my buddy had just walked up to her just before and asked her to go with him. So yeah, there was a quiet no, followed by a super awkward silence. I think we can all agree that I was definitely jealous of my friend who got to go to the dance with that girl. See, jealousy is a very specific type of comparison. It's what we feel when we want what someone else has, and it happens more than any of us realize. Here's some examples. Like when that kid comes into class with a new name brand sneakers, but you're still rocking those Skechers. When your friend is so much fun that everyone wants to be around them, but you can't seem to muster up the same popularity. This list can go on and on, right? If we really think about it, jealousy can show up just about everywhere we turn. For starters, jealousy can cause us to feel insecure. And that insecurity can quickly lead to us being unhappy. Unhappy with our stuff, unhappy with our appearance, unhappy with our family, and unhappy with our status at school. We find it hard to be happy with any part of what we have or who we are when we're letting jealousy motivate the way we see it. Maybe even if we end up angry, we're so jealous of what the other person has that we get mad. So what do? We keep comparing. We keep trying to measure ourselves to others. And eventually, we keep getting jealous. It just never stops. And this is where jealousy really gets tricky, because it doesn't just impact us, it impacts our relationships with others around us. When we're jealous of someone else, we sometimes start keeping our distance from them. We avoid them because we don't want to deal with the jealousy we feel when we're around them. Or we start talking about them behind their backs. We tear them down to make ourselves feel better. And when this happens, we eventually stop being able to be happy for them at all. We stop being able to celebrate the good things in their lives because it only reminds us of what we're missing in ours. And I mean, that's what jealousy does. It stops us from celebrating the good things around us, both in our lives and in the lives of others. And for me, that's just not the kind of life that I want to live. So what do? How do we keep ourselves from letting jealousy and comparison change the way that we see ourselves and others? People have been dealing with jealousy for maybe thousands of years. So much that the Bible has many stories on jealousy. One of these stories has a guy named David in it. His story is crazy because he went from being a shepherd boy to a hero on the battlefield to eventually becoming king. But at the beginning of his story, the king of Israel was a guy named Saul, and he liked David. After all, David killed a giant named Goliath and saved their nation during battle. That was a big win for Saul's army. Excited over the victory, the people of Israel greeted King Saul with a parade to celebrate as they came home from battle. And that's when the problems began. You see, Saul had a major problem with the way the people decided to celebrate. The song that they sang when they entered the kingdom's gates celebrated both King Saul and David. And as king, Saul didn't want to share his fame and popularity. Take a look at his response. See what happened there? And just like that, jealousy changed the way that Saul viewed David. I know it's a dramatic story, but that's what jealousy has the power to do. To change the way that what we see and what we have. To destroy our relationship with others. To kill our ability to celebrate the good things that are happening in our lives and in others' lives. In another book in the Bible, a place filled with wisdom called Proverbs, the writer explained jealousy in this way. Check it out. So, envy is just another way to say jealousy. The writer was simply painting a picture of the way jealousy impacts our lives from the inside out. But think about your bones for a second. They're a pretty important part of your body. They are the core of what holds you up. When you compare your life to someone else's, the jealousy you feel eats at you. It can cause the way you see yourself to break down. It can rot your ability to celebrate anything good. And that's what happened to Saul. But David kept his heart at peace. And the proverb tells us that what gives the body life, see while jealousy breaks down, peace builds up. And the same can be true for us. When we keep our eyes focused on what we do have, we'll find more peace when we stop focusing on what others have. Because the truth is this, when we stop comparing, we can better celebrate others and ourselves. So how do we avoid comparison and jealousy and choose to celebrate others and ourselves instead? I think we can begin by doing two things. I'm gonna throw them up here on some slides so you guys can pause and read them longer and maybe even write them down. So here's the thing. I think we could all use a little practice when it comes to celebrating ourselves and celebrating others, right? So this week, whatever you choose to do, take a step to celebrate the good in your life and the lives of those around you. Because when we stop comparing, we can better celebrate others and ourselves. Have a great week, guys. I miss you all so much. I hope to see you at Fortnite on Thursday at 7. Later, guys.